Welcome to the Northern Business Podcast. Each week we talk to people active in business and the economy about the big issues driving growth in the north of England. We're sponsored by Virtue Motors, one of the UK's largest motor retailers. You can see its website at virtumotors.com. That's VERTU Motors. I'm Graham Robb. I own Recognition PR. We help scores of businesses promoting their products and services, and some are featured on this podcast. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on LinkedIn as well. Now, in the studio today, we have Atif Syed, and he is a CEO and founder at Wootzano Ltd. It's a very interesting company. We're going to hear all about it and its progress in the robotics field. Well, and down the line, we have Philip Cunliffe, who is the business editor of Insider Media. And later, my colleague Josh will be speaking with Tom Greenwood at Ruck Engineering and Mark Wells from AV Dawson about going green at the port of Middlesbrough. So, welcome to the studio, Tiff. Very good to hear from you and have you come in.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to roll some video while we're talking for people who watch the video rather than listen about some of the products and services you've been developing in Sedgefield at Net Park. Tell us about the business.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm the chief exec of Wootzano. Wootzano is a robotics business. We call our business a bit interesting because we call these robots dexterous robots. They're designed to do the task of a human being without looking as a human being.
Right.
We understand what I mean. So these robots, they go and effectively pack and process all fresh produce you eat and enjoy on a daily basis in all retailers in the UK. And now we're in about 8 countries across the world. These robots do what a person would do, from understanding the quality, the dexterity, the issues with it, specifications. The robots know our Waitrose table grapes versus what's for Aldi, and everything in between. Anything which requires manual manipulations of these fruits and vegetables, which is quite complex, these robots are designed to do that.
I suppose in the British agriculture sector, with workers being of paramount importance and a shortage of workers and the different issues they've had with bringing people in from abroad, this kind of technology is going to be critical in getting the agriculture sector back where it needs to be.
Absolutely. And it's not just critical from that perspective, it's also a going concern issue as well, because a lot of what we do in the country, we're good in farming, but the amount of produce we import from across the world is high because we don't have the climate across. The technology to grow these different types of fruits and vegetables do not exist yet at a scale where we can grow them in greenhouses. We do some tomatoes, wine tomatoes, strawberries, and so on. But everything gets imported. So pack houses and packing facilities and processing facilities are pretty much feeding the nation. And that's something a lot of people don't really understand. Farmers are great, but this whole ecosystem is very important. Labor issue has always been a problem for quite some time. After Brexit and COVID-19, it swelled up even more, and it's been more difficult to get people to actually do these jobs. If you don't have people to do the job, getting the fruits out is one issue, but how do you then process and make sure that goes to the retailer? Eventually, we end up consuming them. So these businesses don't have the ability to continue with the operations margins they've got right now and continue the way they're doing without innovation. So what the robots actually give them is the ability for them to continue being in business and feed us as fresh as possible produce in retailers.
A few weeks ago, I chaired the Make UK Northern Conference, and robotics was the buzzword, innovation and robotics. And the bigger driver for robotics was productivity. Robots can work through the night. Robots don't need a shift. And I suppose when it comes to fruit and veg and agricultural produce, just in time is really important. So working through the night and having extended shifts is something that really does add to the productivity gain.
That's an added bonus. So the fact the robots work 24 hours, 7 days a week, that's an added bonus. The fact that the robots can do the job what the human being would do, that itself has been a challenge. Because when you look at fresh produce, as opposed to known objects like picking up a box or a can, fresh produce, they don't look the same. They're one grape from one variety grown in one country, the same variety grown in a different country looks different. Day 1 to day 5 to day 50 of harvest season looks different. So you need that ability. That's where human beings employ it, because you can train a person. If it looks like this, make sure you do it like this. We are very good as human beings to determine and infer from what we've learned and so that looks similar, and you do the work. So having that is very important. So that's the main thing. Working 24 hours is a bonus.
Yeah.
Solving the problem itself has been a big challenge.
So these robots are smarter robots. They're not just the sort of car assembly line robots that we've been used to seeing since the 1980s.
Yeah.
They are smarter. To what extent, then, have you used smart technology and AI to operate the robots? And to what extent is it an innovation in the physical manifestation of the dexterity of the robot?
So the both elements. So the physical elements is the electronic skin, is the world's first fully stretchable material, which mimics human-like feeling. So force pressure, humidity, temperature, and so on. So that enables robots to pick this fruit, so handle it without bruising and damaging. But the other thing we use is deep learning, machine learning. Because of what I mentioned, the fact that they're so random, you cannot use just pure logic to do this. You need to be able to use deep learning methods. So our robots create, by using these sensors and the deep learning methods we've got, we are able to create human-like intuition and repeatedly do that consistently and uniformly over the course of time. Because even if a human being can do it, to ask that person to do that, even an 8-hour shift, is very difficult. To make sure it consistently do the same thing, it's very difficult to achieve that. So robots are able to do that more reliably.
Now, tell us about the research and how much you are able to manufacture these robots to the relevant scale to bring it to an affordable price for the agricultural users.
So there are two aspects in ag what we've looked at in the starts with robotic businesses. One is we need to make sure that these robots work at the same speed and efficiency as a human being. That's the most important point, and which a lot of robotic companies haven't managed to do. Second is human cost parity. So either it should cost at least as much as human being or less, or maybe the robot working 2 or 3 times faster, so you overall get your money back. Traditional robots don't have those level of ROIs. So what we have done is we already manage these robots and we sell these robots quite differently to what people do. We charge these robots the same hourly rate as a human labor in the country or in the region where it's employed. So a robot deployed near Peterborough is charged differently to the one installed near Chichester, to the ones near Blackpool. And not just that, not just in the UK. We have robots in the US, Canada, Australia, where the hourly rate is very different. We charge those rates, and the one robot is equivalent to about 2 or 3 people. So
you don't necessarily sell the robots, you're actually leasing them.
We started by selling the robots. We signed a $47 million contract in the US, and that was all based on sale, but we're now converting a lot of that into leases. What we realized is...
Robots as a service.
Robots as a service, but exactly. So what we realized is that a lot of people, especially with new technologies, don't want to come up with a few $1 million or pounds to buy these robots because innovation is so fast. So by the time they bought it and installed it, we've now gone to version 3 or 4 of this system. And they may think that, our competitors may get a better version than what we've just invested. So by getting it as a service, our customers will always get to the up-to-date model. They don't need to own it. They don't need to capex it and depreciate it. Don't care any of those things. Rather than paying people, now you half your monthly wage bill and get robots instead.
That's fantastic. I mean, that is an innovation. And also, it's amazing at the Make UK conference, I was talking to 2 or 3 factory owners who have old robots in the corner doing nothing, rusting away because of the sort of redundancy element of it. Tell me about how easy it's been to get funding, because if you're going to produce material like this, products like this for lease, you're going to have to fund them up front. And obviously, there is an appetite for innovation funding. Has it been easy based in the Northeast with this innovation to fund it?
So we, in the Northeast, of course, there's a need for improvement of getting a lot of investors, but that also stems from the fact that a lot of people don't realize that there's innovation here in this part of the world. And that's a completely different story of how that should be promoted. But the UK in general, we have been fairly risk-averse in terms of new technologies and new developments and stuff. So that element is fairly less here in the UK as much as elsewhere in the world. So we have investors from the US, we have investors from elsewhere in the world. We have some UK investors. We have VCs as well, but again, majority of them are outside the UK at the moment, because the problem in the UK right now is the moment investors hear the word hardware and there's an element of hardware, they completely get turned off. There's too much risk, there's too much movement. If it's only software, and if you're fintech, goodness me, it's amazing for you. Be in the UK and you've got lots of support. But for business like ours, that's not the same for it. But what we've done historically is that we haven't really raised in the early stages of the business a lot of money through investors. We grew a lot of the business organically because the whole point was to make these technologies, amazing tech, but make them commercially viable so that we start generating revenue and start using our own sort of resources to get to where we are. Because when you're at that stage, you're talking at a different level of investment. You can now access debt financing, combine that with equity if you want a balance sheet to look good, all that sort of interesting ways.
And tell me about the ease with which you've created a skilled team. Clearly, this is highly skilled, the programming of the robots and the development of the robots. You're talking about some of the top graduates that you'll have in the northeast of England. What's happening? How do you manage to find them?
Well, we have people from around the world. We have every continent represented except Antarctica, and well, that's about it.
A real international business.
We are very international. We have about 60 plus languages spoken within the business and our team members. I think it's initially it was a bit difficult for us to actually convince people to come to the northeast because especially outside the UK, most people have not heard of Sedgefield and not heard of this region. They may know about Newcastle because of Newcastle United. That's pretty much what they knew. Yeah. And the Newcastle Ale. Those are the two things people, I've heard about this. But not many people know about the region. So it was a bit hard to convince. But obviously now with the brand we've got, the recognition we've got, it's been fairly easy to bring people into the country or across the country to come and work with us. We have local talent as well. So a lot of we work with local universities. We work with schools, universities. We have lots of programs to encourage students to know what we're doing here. And it's right next to your doorstep. You can come and work with us once you graduate or even whilst you're doing your degree. We have interns who come all around the year to work with us. So we encourage all that ecosystem to come in locally as well. But then we are open. We basically get people from around the world. So now this initially was very, very, very difficult to get people. Now, we are more selective.
We're able to. You're a magnet for it.
Yeah, so we're able to. So if you are robotics, if you love robots, if you're skilled in robotics, different fields of robotics, and you want to work into this robotic business, especially post-harvest, we are the only one in the world right now commercially selling these robots. So if you're interested anywhere in the world, this is the only place you can come and actually work. So
fantastic. But for people watching and listening outside the northeast of England, what we've got for Atif is based in County Durham, and I was in Durham City today, actually seeing one of my business clients, and the city in the sunshine. It's a magnificent city with a cathedral. It really has a selling point. Not everyone knows about it outside the northeast.
No, exactly.
Well, look, thank you for coming in. Do stay there because I want to introduce Philip Cunliffe. Philip is the editor of Business Insider. Insider Media covers the whole of the north of England. And you're based in Manchester. You're in Manchester at the moment. I know you've met Atif. This is a fantastic story, isn't it, for the north of England?
It certainly is, Graham. Yes, Wootzano have been involved in our Made in the Northeast awards and subsequently in our Made in the UK awards in previous years. And it's always great to see Atif and his team doing some amazing things. And not the only tech businesses in the Northeast that are doing so well, but it's really, really good to see.
And the Netpark facility that they're on is also pretty good. They've got companies like Chromet there, CPI there. It's quite an advanced little campus. It's really more of a campus than a business park. I think it's
very much an ecosystem there, and Atif and his team are part of that. And Chromet, we've done some work with them before as well, and I think we're going to be doing a roundtable then with them next month, which is always exciting to go out there.
Now, I just want to get a little bit of a dipstick around the north of England from your perspective. You run this organisation, Business Insider Media, and you regularly report on your websites and on your newsletters about the deals that are being done in business. So let's take a little bit of a temperature check. Let's sort of take a mental walk around the north of England, starting with where you are in Manchester. How do you assess the economy and what you're seeing fed to you as far as the deals that you're reporting?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of Manchester, I'm sitting here in on the 24th floor of our brand new office in City Tower, right in the middle of Manchester. And if I look out of the window, I can see buildings going up almost every day, and that's a real indication that Manchester is a boom city. But that spreads out from to the rest of the northwest. not least in Liverpool. The Liverpool businesses are thriving and really going great guns at the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of positivity about from businesses here in the northwest. We meet them every single day and report on what's going on in terms of business owners and what they're thinking about. Obviously, there's like everyone else has some degree of uncertainty about the direction of travel in the coming months after the general election. But once that's been sorted out, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of things to look forward to. In terms of them, we in Manchester here, we have Andy Burnham as the mayor, and that gives people, and Steve Rotherham over in Liverpool, gives people a lot of certainty about what their plans are. Over in Yorkshire, we have a team in Leeds, and they're doing a lot. And again, businesses are there generally very positive. And in the northeast, we do a lot of events. I myself go up there an awful lot and work with your team as well, Graham, which is always good. I mean, one thing that I would say in the northeast, I think this is replicated across the north, is businesses are coming under more pressure in terms of sustainability and ESG. Seems to be a hot topic at the moment, and there's a lot of pressure not only from businesses about from their customers, but also looking down their supply chains as well. But also, the demand is being driven on this from their workforces, and especially the younger members of staff. So it's an interesting time, and there may well be some legislation coming down the line which sort of further exacerbates all that.
I know of one firm, I won't mention names, that had a little bit of a tricky funding issue because they were in the defence sector, and ESG, they had to make a case. It's sometimes it's not as cut and dry as the ethics people would have it go.
A lot of funds are doing that these days. ESG has become a thing as well. So the investors we're speaking to right now, almost all of them have got those check boxes and making sure that we're doing things all the way down to suppliers who will be getting it. And we implemented that quite some time ago. But that can be a bit of a shock to a lot of people who've not gone through those processes. But I think it's in a step in the right direction. And
at least it creates a conversation and makes you think about how your end product is, whether you're in defence sector or in fossil fuel. You've still got people serving the North Sea and so on. So now let's talk about the owner-managed business event you had in the Northeast recently. What were your main takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, again, sustainability was very much to the fore. This is a round table of owner-managed businesses in the Northeast. We had a range of different businesses. We had a tapered roof insulation business. We had a company that specialises in asbestos audits, and a training provider and communications. So there's a wide range, and there was common themes. There was general positivity. But there were some elements that were giving some concern. Recruitment and retention is a common theme. We hear it all the time, of course, but it is something that keeps business owners awake at night sometimes, and it's a difficult thing to manage. But all these firms are doing well. They're increasing revenues. They're taking on more staff when they can. And generally, they're quite positive about the year ahead. So it's really interesting to get a group of businesses together and discuss what's common. But there is always commonality across those. And sustainability, ESG, recruitment are the sort of the big ones at the moment, of course.
And Philip, just a last question: what have you got coming up? Because you have these great events where people can attend for breakfast or lunch or roundtable events. What have you got coming up?
Well, very excitingly, in Yorkshire, actually, I want to quickly mention, Graham, we're hosting the inaugural Yorkshire Placemaking Awards, which recognise and reward the drivers of trade change and creating communities and the built environment with sustainable future and opportunities for all across Yorkshire. The dinner is geared at showcasing those who are driving and shaping, if you like, Yorkshire. And the awards are taking place at Bradford's Life Centre on the 13th of June. We're being supported, which is great, by the team behind Bradford's successful UK City of Culture
Excellent.
bid for 2025. Next year, there's going to be loads of events across Bradford, 1,000 new performances and events, including artist commissions, a series of major arts festivals. There's a huge amount going on. And its themes for the City of Culture in Bradford are rooted in the unique heritage and character of Bradford. So it's entirely appropriate that we're hosting the Yorkshire Placemaking Awards in Bradford. So we're very much looking forward to that.
All right. Well, Philip, thank you for joining me. Atif, thank you. Fantastic story. Just the kind of thing we like to hear on this podcast. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to hand over to Josh Haverkin, who's been down to the port of Middlesbrough to find out about one of their green initiatives.
Thanks, Graham. Now, a lot of businesses and people are trying to reduce their impact on their environment, so their carbon emissions and their emissions in general. Now, one of the ways that you can do that is by swapping some products or services that use hydrocarbons for an electronic alternative. AV Dawson, which is a huge port group up here in the northeast on the banks of the River Tees, is a company that's doing that. It's working with Ruck engineering to install the zero-emissions jet washers to keep their fleet clean and on the road. I spoke to Tom Greenwood, Sales Director at Ruck Engineering, and Mark Wells, Head of Engineering at AV Dawson Group, to find out a little bit more.
So I've come to AV Dawson's to have a look at the 3 zero-emission hot pressure washers that they've taken on a 5-year contract hire from us. So the Mac Plantmaster Electric is a hot pressure washer that runs on a 415 volt 32 amp power supply, and it's a zero emission machine.
We want to be a net zero port, so we were really big on making sure we achieve that in the next few years. So having things like the pressure washers are really quick fixes. So change the pressure washers is one of the easiest things you can do. Like I say, there's a lot of difficult technologies out there not available as such for the bigger equipment, but changing the pressure washers, we've reduced the amount of kerosene on site and reduction in the deliveries, and that's just give us a big reduction in the hydrocarbons that we're burning on site. Having clean vehicles out there just shows you that we've got high standards as a business. So we like to have everything pristine. We want to be out there we're a family business. We want to be out there as a big employer in Teesside, and everyone knowing who we are and where we're from.
Well, there we have it. AV Dawson is improving its own environmental credentials with a very simple change that many other businesses could implement. Going to go back to you now, Graham.
Well, you heard we were talking about sustainability in small businesses. That's the Port of Middlesbrough looking at small methods and large to get their sustainability just right. Now, if you'd like to join us as a guest on the Northern Business Podcast, please feel free to get in touch. We want to hear from you. You can use LinkedIn, contact me, Graham Robb, or my producer, Harry Sinclair. Thanks to Harry for today's podcast and for our technical operator, Kieran Graham. Join us next time for the Northern Business Podcast. Don't miss an episode. You can like, rate and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on LinkedIn or wherever you get your podcasts.